Today's episode of the Riderflex podcast is sponsored by our friends at Scratch Labs. They help humans who work hard by making functional food products that include what the body needs to perform. Every ingredient has a function, and they don't use anything artificial, ever. Making it from scratch means better taste, being real, and uncompromised performance. Visit them at scratchlabs.com. And on today's episode of the Riderflex podcast, what do I mean by preparing for a job interview? You know, for those of you that listen to the podcast, you've heard me complain many times that candidates just don't prepare for the interview. In fact, it's the number one mistake candidates make. They just don't prepare. Many of the guests that have been on the Riderflex podcast, they also complain about the same thing. It blows me away at how often people don't prepare. So I'm constantly complaining about it here on the podcast, but I don't think I've ever really taken the time to define what I mean. Like specifically, what am I talking about? I want to go into some of that. Here are 5 things that I think you should do to prepare, 5 specifics. There's a lot more than 5, but these are my top 5. Now, these are going to sound like no-brainers, right? You're going to hear these and you're going to think to yourself, well, damn, Steve, doesn't everybody do this? Doesn't everybody know to do this? You would think so, but they don't. Either they don't know or they're just too lazy to do it, or both. So here are 5 things. For those of you that already know these, maybe it'll be a good reminder. Make sure you don't mess these up or forget. So in preparing for a job interview, 5 key things. Number 1, you're reviewing the website. You are thoroughly reviewing the company website. I mean, you're reading every page, every tab. You're looking for, example, the mission statement, the values, any recent news or blogs. If it's a public company, you're clicking on the investment tab, right? The investor tab, so that you can see the recent financials from the last quarter, so you know how the company's doing financially. Every single thing on the company website, every tab, read everything. That's number 1. I know that sounds crazy. Some of you are thinking to yourself, well, holy cow, doesn't everybody do that? No, they don't. Trust me, they don't. Okay? So that's number 1. Number 2, the social media for that company. Whatever social media platforms they're using, you need to look at, sign up for, follow, and study all of the recent postings, probably the last, 6 months worth. If they have a Facebook page, look at it. If they have an Instagram page, look at it. Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever it is, study it. Every social media page. Number 3, the personnel, the leadership team, the people that work there. Look them up. If there's not a page on the company website that highlights each leader, which often there is, but if there's not, it's on LinkedIn. Go to LinkedIn, look up the leaders and study their profiles, especially for the person that's going to be interviewing you. And by the way, send them a connection request, right? Connect with them on LinkedIn as well. You'd be surprised at how many job candidates I interview that skip this part. It just blows me away. I mean, think about it. If you're meeting somebody for the first time, don't you want to look them up on social media and try to get to know something about them before you step in front of them and shake their hand? Yes. I mean, it's a great tool. Social media gives us the opportunity to learn a little something about the people that we're going to meet. So study the personnel. Look up the leadership team. Look up the people that are going to be interviewing you, okay? If the profiles on the website, do that, and also look them up on LinkedIn. So that was number 3. All right. Number 4, clarify and prepare statements on why you're interested in the company and that particular industry. It's the why. So number 4 is the why. Why do you want to work there? Why is it a good move for you? Why are you interested? Is it just a job and a paycheck so that you can pay your mortgage? Or is there really, truly an emotional tie back to the situation? Do you love the product? Do you love the industry? How are you tied to it? What's the real reason why you want to work there other than it just being a job with a paycheck? You'd be surprised at how many people don't prepare that. They don't tie it to a real reason on why they want the job. I can't tell you how many times I'm in the middle of an interview and I'll say, well, Bobby, why do you want to work there? Bobby can't answer it. Bobby will say something like, well, I need a job right now and I saw the posting on LinkedIn. I mean, that's just a terrible answer. There's got to be a real reason why. Okay, that was number 4. Number 5, the last one, my top 5 tips. Remember, top 5 tips on preparing for a job interview. Number 5, questions. Prepare a few questions ahead of time. Again, you'll just be shocked at how often I'm interviewing a job candidate and I'll say, okay, Mary, so we're wrapping up the interview. What questions do you have for me? And Mary will say, well, I don't really have any questions right now. There's always questions. I don't care how good of a job I've done on explaining the job or the specifics or the requirements or whatever. No matter what we talked about in the interview, there's always going to be questions. You should have questions prepared. The real reason you're preparing questions is not necessarily because you need that information. I mean, it's handy to have if they give it to you, but the real reason you're preparing the questions is because it shows your interest. It shows your enthusiasm for the job. That's the real reason you're asking the questions. It shows that you spent time preparing and studying. That's why you ask the questions, okay? Not necessarily because you have to have the information. It's nice to have, but that's not the real reason. Okay, so there are your top 5 ways to truly prepare for an interview. And when you hear me complain on the Riderflex podcast that people don't prepare, this is what I mean. And there is your Riderflex tip of the day. The Riderflex podcast features entrepreneurs, business executives, and the stories behind how they got there, as well as daily tips on career advice and job interviews. Our show can be heard just about anywhere these days, but you can visit riderflex.com and click on the podcast page to hear all the previous episodes and learn more about the recruiting and consulting services we provide. Contact us at the email address info@riderflex.com or 888-964-5876. Thanks so much for listening, and if you enjoy our show, please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like the episodes.